This is Matt Cox and welcome to The Grind. This video is about me coming down with COVID-19. Before I get into it, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell and hit the like button. I would really appreciate that. I needed all the subscribers I can get. I have no idea how I got it. I don't know anybody that has COVID. I've met a couple guys that have had it, but they live in California and they'd had it months and months ago. I hadn't traveled recently. I'd traveled, but it had been about 2 weeks since I've traveled, but nobody else I know has COVID. The only person that I know that has been in contact with people that have had COVID is a buddy of mine, but I've been calling him I'm like, you're a Typhoid Mary, bro. He lived with like 3 people, all 3 of them got COVID, he didn't. He said at work 4 or 5 people got COVID, he didn't get it. He said he started dating a girl, some chick. He said like I met her and like 2 to 3 days later she had COVID. So he's telling me all these people, he's like, yeah, man, this person got it. Like, he goes, I think I'm immune. And I thought, wow, that's great. He's immune to COVID. That's good for him. But I don't think he's immune. I think he's a carrier. I think he's Typhoid Mary. I think he's a COVID Typhoid Mary. He and I hung out for like a day or two. And within a couple of days, I came down with COVID. Here's what happened. After I moved into my apartment, like on Friday, I started feeling, oh yeah, by the way, I'm doing this video in my bed because this is basically where I've been for the past 4 or 5 days. Well, not 4 or 5 days. What's today? Today's Tuesday. Yeah, I slept here a lot on Saturday, all day Sunday, Monday, most of the day I slept. Today I've been feeling better. So I laid down several times, but for the most part I've been up. But I have laid down a bunch, but like I haven't slept. Here's what happened. On Friday, I started feeling bad, but keep in mind, I almost never get sick. So on Friday, I started feeling like, I started coughing. Like throughout the day, I was like, I had this little, and I was like, what the hell is going on? I kept coughing and I thought, I'm not a cougher. So I don't cough, and I remember thinking, wow, man, you don't want to be one of those old men that coughs all the time. That's horrible. Those old guys that are constantly, I'm not doing that. And I was like, oh, you don't want to be one of those guys. So I remember consciously thinking that, and that's why I even remember that I started coughing on Friday, because it was happening all day, and I was like, ooh, you got to get a hold of this. So then on Saturday, I was unpacking and I drove around and I bought some boxes and I unpacked, and there were multiple times throughout the day I was like, God, I'm so tired. And I thought, well, it's a new place. Maybe you didn't sleep good, and so whatever. So I laid down 3 or 4 times. I even fell asleep, I think, once or twice, but I laid down a lot, like throughout the day. And I would start to fall asleep, and I'd get up, I'd like snap awake, and I'd go, okay, you know what? You got to get back up and get your stuff done. No big deal. And I wanted to get everything done because Jess was coming over. So Jess is my girlfriend. She came over that night, and I was telling her that I told her that I was really, I was kind of tired, and I'd been coughing, and she noticed that I was coughing. She's like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah. I said, oh, I'm coughing. I don't know why. She's like, do you feel bad? I was like, no, I don't feel bad at all. I didn't feel bad. I was tired, but I didn't think I was feeling bad. We ended up getting dinner, and we ate, and, and then she stayed the night, and, you can imagine what happened. So everything was great, whatever. I woke up at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I thought that the AC had stopped working. I'm sorry. I'm so tired. Okay, it's a programmable thermostat. And so at night, it will start, the temperature, it'll raise up. It's Florida, so it'll get hotter. And I remember thinking, did I set that? And does it do that by itself? And maybe, fuck. My back is killing me because I've been sleeping so much. So I thought, did I program it? Because I woke up sweating. I was like, man, it's hot. So I got up and I went and checked, and it said it was 72 degrees. And I was like, wow, maybe it's broken. So I turned it down to like 68. And so I woke up in the morning at like, whatever, 7 o'clock, 6 or 7 o'clock. So I woke up at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning and I asked Jess, I was sweating, was just drenched in sweat. And I felt like I weighed like 400 pounds. Like I was felt heavy. And I said to Jess, I went, oh my God. I said, are you hot? And she goes, I'm freezing. You're hot? And I was like, yeah, I'm hot. And so I was like, I think something's wrong with me. I think something's wrong. And she goes, you obviously have a fever. And then she said, does your body hurt? And I was, do you have aches? And I was like, yeah. And so she started going through this list, and I was like, yeah. And she goes, okay, you probably have COVID. And I went, no, I don't have COVID. I don't know I haven't been around anybody that has COVID. And she went, no, but baby, you probably have COVID. You've got all the symptoms. And so I grabbed my phone, I started looking it up, and I was like, no, but I don't have, I can still taste and smell. And then she's like, well, yeah, I'm maybe. And the day before, she'd gotten into my car and she goes, it smells like mildew, because I'd had a flat tire, and when I removed the platform or the floor in the back of my car to get to where the spare tire should have been but wasn't, when I removed it, I had to put it outside and it got wet. So when I put it back in, it was all wet. And so it smelled mildewy. She goes, do you smell that? She goes, that smells like mildew. And I went, it's probably from the thing in the back was wet. The carpet's all wet, and that's probably what it is. And she goes, yeah. She goes, yeah, it smells mildewy. She goes, do you smell that? And I went, no. And I realized now it probably smelled very mildewy. I just didn't smell it at all. So, and I also noticed that she asked me to taste some coffee, and she goes, does this taste right? And I tasted it and I was like, tastes fine to me. Well, it didn't have very much taste at all to me. When you lose your sense of smell and taste, you don't realize it because it's just not there. Everything's muted. And that's how I feel. I feel like things aren't as tasty, but I can still kind of taste them, but they're not like pow. I started realizing, wow, yeah, definitely something's wrong. So I slept all day. And Jess went and got me soup, and she got me Tylenol, and she got me medicine, and she got me water, and she kind of tried to take care of me as best you can. I basically slept the whole day. And then she had to go, so she left. And then the next morning, she found a testing site, a free test site for me. And so the next morning she started texting me saying, you got to go get yourself tested. You got to go get tested. So I went and I stood in line. Oh God, my back hurts so bad. My whole body aches, but my back is killing me. So I got to stop saying so. I got to get better at this. I'm so bad at this. Anyway, I went and stood in line. It was like 30 minutes from here, but it was free. So I went and stood in line for over an hour. I've been saying an hour and a half. But I don't think it was an hour and a half. I think it was a little over an hour. So I stood in line, and there's probably 100, 150 people in line. You have to register. You have a thing. You register who you are and everything. And so I registered, and I was talking. People were talking in line, and this nurse came up to me and she goes, "Do you want the rapid test and the whatever it's called? Let's say PPA test, or I don't know what the hell it's called." She goes, "Do you want the PPA test?" And I was like, "Why? Well, what do I need? Do I need that?" And she goes, "Well, it's free and it's very accurate. So if you end up getting a false if you get like a false reading, she said, this will be more accurate. And I said, honestly, I'm about 100% sure that I have COVID. And it's funny because when I said that, like everybody in line, most of the people were in line because they might have been exposed, or they had to take it for their job or school. Like everybody in line went and looked at me. Immediately like turned and looked at me. So she was like, okay, so you feel like you have it? I said, yeah. I said, so I don't think I need that. I'm pretty sure I already have it, no matter what this test says. To be honest, the only real reason I even went to get the test was so that I could have the test results, so that I could flash them on the screen. I went through the line and I talked to this one woman who said she had some of these symptoms like a week or two ago, and then they went away, and then she got a rash on the bottom of her feet, like which she said is some new symptom that people are coming down with. Anyway, yeah. So it was. Oh God. It was interesting. It was actually it was actually run pretty well. Like everybody was very polite, other than the woman on the phone behind me, which was yelling at her son for coming down with COVID. And because he had come down with it, she had to now get tested in order to go back to work. And she was basically yelling at him for coming down with COVID and forcing her to have to take the day off work, which was funny. Anyway, everybody was polite. Everybody was nice. It was actually super professional. The nurses were professional. Everybody was super professional. So I ended up, first I had to go get a kit. You get like a kit which has a swab in it. And then it's got like a sticker and a swab and a test kit, and it comes in a bag. And so the guy had to find me in the system, which is the little thing I had gone online and registered when I was standing in line. So he went on his computer and found me. Then I had to show my driver's license. Then he gave me the kit. Then I went to another station and they verified that was me and that was my kit and this was me, and I had to verify it, and they signed off on it, which is a little overkill. And then I got in line again, another line, and I went, and these guys that are inside of this COVID-19 center, testing center, they are behind the glass, and they have these gloves. They've got their hands in the gloves, and they're inside, and so it's glass, and they're in the gloves, and they take your kit and they take it out, and then they swab you, whatever. They rub it in your nose, and then they test it right there in front. They didn't do anything I couldn't do, so they did the same thing right then there, and they took some snot and they stuck it in the thing, and they wiggled it around, they capped it, and they dropped it in a thing, and they said, you'll be notified within the next 20 minutes. And I was like, oh, okay. So then I walked down, and I walked to my car. My car was, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes away. It wasn't even, probably 3 minutes away, to be honest. But I happened to actually walk by my car. I walked right by the car and kept walking. I don't know, I was so out of it. Like I started walking to a parking lot where I had not parked. And I was just walking and walking, and then I was like, wait a minute, I didn't park here. And I turned around and I walked back. I was so just disoriented. And then I found my car, and I went and I sat in my car. I sat in my car for a minute. And while I was sitting in my car, it hadn't been 5 minutes since I got the thing, and all of a sudden my cell phone went bling, and I looked at it and it said, your results are ready. And I pushed the button, and I went to my account, which I'd set up when I was standing in line, and I clicked on test results, and it said positive. And these are my test results. And you can see, and it says I'm positive for COVID, which I knew anyway. Then I told Stacy, my friend Stacy, and I told my sister, and my sister said, well, you can't go see mom, which I knew. And I told Jess, and I can't stand when you tell people you're sick. It doesn't matter if it's a sore throat or what, or COVID or what. Like if you tell a mom that you're sick, the first thing they do is want to tell you all the things you're supposed to do. Like, I don't know to take vitamin C and drink some orange juice and take Tylenol and sleep and get some soup. And, half the stuff that they tell you to do is like old wives' tale, okay? Soup's not going to cure anything. I guess it's probably good on your stomach or something. Look, next thing you know, I'm being told to drink ginger ale or Sprite and go get this and go get that and they're being helpful, but it's like, I've been sick before. I'm 51, right? I've been sick before. I hate it when people give you advice, but rarely they're just giving you a bunch of work to do. Look, I ended up just going home because I was supposed to quarantine myself. So I went home and I just basically slept. I laid in bed and I slept on and off throughout the day. I'm so tired. So I slept on and off throughout the day. I FaceTimed with my mom, and she's 91, and she got, all upset, and she was, are you going to be okay? Because like for her, at her age and her friends and the people she knows, if they get COVID, there's a good chance that they don't make it. I explained to her that I'm in good shape. You couldn't listen. I mean, and I'm not bragging or anything, but I mean, I'm running 4 miles a day. So I mean, I really, for 51 years old, I couldn't be in much better shape. I'm not overweight, although I'd like to lose 5 or 6 pounds. I explained to her that I'm going to be fine. It's not a big deal. It's just going to take some time. It'll pass. And so I went over all those things with my mom, and she still she still gets upset. And then she called me later on. I was sleeping, like I went to sleep, and she called me that night and woke me up, but it was my mom, so I answered the phone, and she's like, "Are you okay?" And she's concerned, and then she FaceTimed her again this morning, and then we talked again really a few hours ago, and my sister called me, and my ex-wife called me. I was so tired. So my ex-wife called me, and Jess has been texting me throughout the day, and then Jess called me, and I asked Jess if I could call her and do a vlog with her on the phone. Like, I'm trying to ease her into doing like a vlog or being on camera, and she's like, I'm not doing it. No, absolutely not. No. This is the worst. And, and I've got a ton of stuff to do. Like, I have books that I have to mail people. I mailed off, I don't know if you watched this video or not. Ooh, I'll put the link in. I'll have it. I'll put a little, what do they call it? Anyway, that little thing that goes bring and kind of goes across the little thing. I'll link it to my video. So I did that video of Marilyn Monroe, and I sold all 4 of those paintings within 24 hours of that video. I pretty much sold all the paintings. One of them I'm actually mailing to Scotland, which is pretty cool. One guy I'm meeting, and the other two I've already mailed. I never yawn. I've stopped coughing. My nose has pretty much stopped running. All right, this may very well be the most boring video I've done to date. I'm just tired. I'm just tired all the time. Even as soon as I wake up, I'm tired. But I feel better if I get up and walk around and try and do stuff than if I lay in bed, because if I lay in bed, I feel really sick. And I feel really exhausted and achy. My body starts to ache. So I'm better off getting up, getting some Tylenol, walking around. I don't really feel like, I'm pretty basically over it. Like, the worst day was Sunday. Monday wasn't great. But Sunday was definitely the worst. And I feel 10 times better now. So I'll bet you tomorrow I feel way better. What else? I think that's it. probably nobody's going to watch this video. It's totally boring. Nothing happened. I mean, it's anticlimactic. It's funny. I got a phone call from the Hillsborough County, it's like the Hillsborough County CDC, but it wasn't CDC, but it was like Hillsborough County CDC. This woman called me. She said, listen, you tested positive. We have you listed as positive. You know, and so she answered, she like asked me a bunch of questions. I had to fill out a questionnaire. And then she asked me a bunch of questions. I mean, then she asked me like, do you have any questions? And I had a couple of questions. And she basically said, like everybody else was like, oh, you have to quarantine for the next 14 days. She said, listen, the CDC guideline is this. You have to quarantine yourself for 10 days from the moment that you started having symptoms. She goes, you said you started having symptoms on Friday, right? And I said, right. She goes, great. So it's 10 days from Friday. So I don't know why everybody says 14 days. The CDC says 10 days. Not from the moment you're better, but from the moment you have symptoms. Sorry, my camera stopped. My camera automatically stops at 30 minutes for some reason. Oh my God. For some reason it stops at 30 minutes. I don't know why. What am I saying? Fuck. The CDC says it's only 10 days from when you first get symptoms. So I don't know where they get 14 days. So I'm probably not going to see Jess until, I don't know, whatever she determines that. She told me, she's like, you need to go get tested again. And then she's going to go get tested to see if she's positive. Or she was saying, I need to go get tested again for me to be negative. And she said she's going to go get tested. She's been tested already and it was negative. And I don't understand how she could not get it, because there's just no humanly way she and I couldn't have been closer, and I was full-blown sick. So I can't imagine that she could not get sick. I think it's all because of my Typhoid Mary buddy, and he's a Typhoid Mary. Guy's a Typhoid Mary, and I told him. I said, yeah, you know, the Hillsborough County CDC called me, and they asked me like who I was in contact with and who I thought I got it from. And I said, you know, I said, I didn't give you up, okay? And he started laughing, and he's like, well, I appreciate that, bro. He said, I'd hate for him to drag me away. I don't know if you know what happened to Typhoid Mary, but she kept working for these families, and everybody would get sick and people were dying, and then eventually the authorities figured out it was her that was helping spread the typhoid. It wasn't only her. There were several other people that were similar to her, but she was one that the newspapers really latched onto, and they started talking about her, and there were articles about her. And so eventually eventually the authorities were like, look, you cannot work you can't work where you're preparing food. People are dying, they're getting typhoid and they're dying. And so she wouldn't do it. She kept working in restaurants and working for families, and eventually they arrested her and they threw her in jail. She was in jail for like 2 years, and she had to sue in order to get out of jail. I want to say this is in the early 1900s, like 1903, 1905, 1906, something, 1906 or something like that. So, like the room just started spinning. Is dizziness a symptom? So eventually they arrested her. She was arrested for 2 years. She had to sue to be released. She ended up, I think she even lost the lawsuit, but she convinced the authorities to allow her to leave as long as she would check in with them and not work in food establishments. So they let her leave because they were like, she hasn't done anything wrong. Well, what happened was she didn't report, and she just went back to working in restaurants, and they quickly figured it out because there were these rash of 400 or 500 people getting typhoid in certain areas. So they eventually grabbed her, and they they grabbed her and they arrested her and they put her into like a place where they were putting people that like an isolation ward type thing. And she basically lived out the rest of her life there and died. I don't know if it was 10 or 20 or 30 years, but she eventually died in this this kind of like this hospital where they were quarantining people, and they kept her there until she died. And there's actually a biography on biographicals on her, and it's a really good biography. So I don't think that I could possibly ramble anymore, and that's actually not true, because I could keep going and going and going. That's it. I was just keeping you informed. Listen, I'm gonna do a better vlog next time. I got a bunch of stuff I want to break up and put together, and I'm gonna get to all of it. It's just I've had a really the last week between moving, the flat tire, and COVID, I've had some issues. God, I'm so tired. Oh, I can't yawn. I'm not a yawner. I don't yawn. Subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment, share the video, watch it twice, including the commercials. Buy a t-shirt, buy a book. What else? Oh yeah, John Boziak, the guy that I wrote the story Bent about. He just started his own YouTube channel. It's called Boziak Conundrum, and he's going to start putting up content, so you might want to check that out. I'll leave the link to the channel in the description. I'll also leave a link in the description for all my books and social media and all that other stuff. What am I saying? I'm so fucking tired. See ya.